Well, Sinn Fein Ard agus tá mé fuir buíoch díobse. Ar dús díobh de dríthla leisne agus Anna agus fáilte mór romh a lig den our Co.Kerry an seo. Agus tá lán Co.Kerry an seo an agus bhí martin ferras ará liv go bhfuil an amsir mar seo san réacht a gcónaí mar seo. So we have visitors here from Friends of Sinn Fein in the USA and Canada, right across Australia. We have comrades from the Basque Country, from South Africa, from Palestine, from Cuba, and I want to give to them and to all our foreign dignitaries a huge céad míle fáilte to the Kingdom. Yesterday, comrades, was Africa Day, when that continent celebrated its freedom. But today, Western powers haggle, while 20 million people in the Sahel region of North Africa face a famine. And thus far, the international community has not provided the money urgently needed. So this Ard Fheis extends solidarity to the suffering people, to our brothers and sisters in Africa, and we urge our government to do its best to encourage the international community to help the people of Sahel. Solidarity also to the people of the Middle East, and Gogarjahas to the Palestinian hunger strikers who secured a deal on prison conditions. Everything is relative, but in Ireland we too have our difficulties. Over 500,000 unemployed, almost 450,000 in this state. Many citizens cannot pay their bills or mortgages. Youth unemployment is especially high north and south. And I recently spoke to one woman who told me that 3 of her brothers, all married, left 2 weeks ago for Australia. Her distress was plain and is shared by tens of thousands of other families. The policies of Fianna Fáil and now Fine Gael and Labour are responsible. Forced emigration is one of the huge, damning failures of this state. And citizens are angry. We heard that anger expressed here. Angry at the political and banking elite and the developers, the golden circle that enriched itself through corruption, greed and bad policies. Angry at the government for failing to hold these elites to account. Angry at broken promises by Fine Gael and Labour not to pay one more red cent to bad banks, and then they hand over 24 billion of our money, of the people's money, to these toxic banks. Many citizens thought in the election that they were voting for change. But what happened? Tweedledum has been replaced by Tweedledee. And Tweedledee has been joined by Tweedledummer. Fine Gael and Labour were elected to change the disastrous policies of Fianna Fáil leaderships. Instead, they embraced these policies. They cut public services and wages. They attacked the rights of the most vulnerable. They introduced new stealth taxes. Long list. The household charge, water charges, septic tank charges, VAT and fuel increases. What really is the point of the Labour Party in this government? What would James Connolly think of the Labour leadership's implementation of right-wing austerity policies? What would he think of promises made and broken by the party he founded? My commitment to you this evening is that Sinn Féin will not make any promises that we will not keep. And when Sinn Féin makes a commitment, as we demonstrated often enough during the peace process, we keep our commitments. Creighton Magina gur féidir le huireann ar hui agus has, teacht a rais, teacht amach, nís leidre agus nís rahula as an garcíim seo. Tá ar tír go húntaach, tá ar winter go húntaach fásta. We live in a beautiful country. We live in a great country. We have great people. Our history is replete with challenges, adversity, and great injustice. But our people have come through it all. In every generation, brave men and women came forward. From 1798 to 1847, from 1913 to 1916 to 1981. Visionaries have shown the way. They've made a stand. In our time, workers at Beta Cortex in Cork, Lazenza, Wilson's, Game, and the Irish Cement, they're also making a stand. And today, leg and brick workers are on 164th day of their strikes. Parents defending their children with disabilities, hospital campaigners, carers, teachers, health workers, defenders of our schools, turf cutters, citizens who are standing up for themselves and for their families and their communities are showing the way. So too are citizens who work in the community and voluntary sector, in our sporting organisations, in environmental groups, in the arts, in defence of our language, in support of our young people and our senior citizens. Citizens out there who are supporting victims of abuse, including drugs and alcohol misuse and suicide prevention, are holding our communities together. These active citizens, compassionate carers and community activists are the real Ireland. Tá siad ag seasamh ar od da ahandana. Tá siad ag seasamh ar son Éireann. Agus tá Sinn Fein agus tá winsear a lig fuir buic daobhse go leor. So folks, we have to follow their example. All of us. We have to demand our rights as citizens. The right to a job, to a home, to a decent health service and education, to a clean environment, to civil and religious liberties, and to top quality public services. It's an old-fashioned word. We have to demand our freedom. Mar dúirt Teresa, Cahimid, our cheer, a glock, a rish, linhain. We have to take our country back. And by we, I mean the citizens out there, the people who are suffering the burden of austerity. And we have to break the cycle of austerity, and we have to break the cycle of inequality. So we need to get citizens back to work. Yes, we need fair taxation. Yes, we need to eliminate wasteful public spending. And yes, it is crucial that we deal with the banking debt. But these policies must be accompanied by a plan to get citizens back to work. And austerity won't do it. In the North, the absence of fiscal powers and cuts by the British Tory government have made the executive's task more difficult. In this state, the government gives fiscal powers away. This state needs a government-led jobs creation strategy. There are funds available in the National Pension Reserve Fund, in the European Investment Bank, in the private pension sector, and in NAMA. And Sinn Féin proposes a £13 billion stimulus. And this stimulus would run over 3 years, creating approximately 130,000 jobs directly. The projects are there. Vitally needed schools, creches, roads, regeneration projects, broadband, and a water system that needs to be modernised. Sinn Féin supports inward investment, but we also champion small and medium enterprises. Upward-only rent reviews and the denial of credit by banks to our small and medium sector doesn't make economic sense. It does make economic sense to replace imports with home-produced products and to target specific sectors for export. It does make economic sense to expand the agri-food sector. It does make economic sense to build on the potential of tourism. And Sinn Féin advocates a joined-up, all-island strategic approach to fully exploit this potential. Sinn Féin will also challenge and change social protection to introduce a safety net for the self-employed. You see out there, and I meet them every day, I'm sure you do as well, Ireland has visionaries who can and who would develop our own industries. But that vision must be matched by government action, because ni Jan and Jenna a Sinn, ni he and Jenna a Rachak, Kahi mar a dúirt me, muid dina a cor a Reich a gobber. In a real republic, there is a duty to provide the highest quality of public services. Better services delivered more fairly and paid for by direct taxation. All citizens throughout their lives should have access to education at all levels based on their ability. But the cost of educating children is increasingly a challenge for many parents. Education must give children, all our children, the best start possible. That also is good economics. To Sinn Fein Fásta, ta munsta, ta lassi slanta, agus ta investiach in our service slanta pibli. A public health service, free at the point of delivery, which provides for citizens from the cradle to the grave, and also funded by direct taxation, is good economics. The number of sick children awaiting hospital admission and on trolleys has increased by almost 700% in 3 years. 700%. In the first 4 months of this year, 26,106 citizens were left on hospital trolleys. Almost 60,000 citizens, patients, adults and children are on waiting lists. That's a 50% increase on 2010. And after 1 year of this government, the health service is worse, because this government is doing exactly the same thing as Féin Ard Fheis. And patients and their families are paying the price, while those at the top award themselves obscene salaries and huge bonuses. So citizens need to stand together against this. It is wrong, it is unacceptable, and it must be stopped. Rural Ireland is also under attack. Rural schools, post offices, Garda stations are being closed. Rural people are being told they can no longer cut turf, that they must pay septic tank charges and household charges, while our oil and gas resources are given away. Unemployment is tearing the heart out of our communities. It's driving young people to far-off foreign shores. In Leitrim, I was told that half of those between the ages of 22 and 26 have left. A whole GAA generation is going to Canada and Australia. In this state, 70,000 people are emigrating every year. That's 9 citizens every hour. Mothers and fathers wonder who will be left next. Rural Ireland, and especially the West, has been devastated. Forced emigration is not a lifestyle choice. But it is an indictment of the 2 men from the West who lead this bad government. Shame on you, Taoiseach. Shame on you, Taoiseach. There is anger too in Gaeltacht communities. Gaeltacht schools are being targeted. The 20-year strategy for the Irish language is not being implemented. Now, this party recently appointed an Irish language officer to strengthen the use of Irish within Sinn Féin and to direct our Irish language strategy. And I want to commend our Minister, Killarney, who's doing Trojan work to support and develop the Irish language, especially with our very successful LEAFA campaign. I want now to turn to the austerity treaty, and I hope the Taoiseach has the stopwatch going. When considering what way to vote, people need to ask themselves if the austerity of recent budgets led to jobs and growth. Now, the answer to that is obvious. The answer to that is no. And if you accept that, you should vote no. Austerity isn't working now, and it won't start working on the 1st of June. And neither will it bring stability or certainty. Austerity means more cuts and increased charges. Right now, if you do not like the policies of the government, you can sack them or you can re-elect them. You won't be able to do that with unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats in Frankfurt and Brussels. And that's undemocratic. So don't give up your power. What people ever give up power? Democratic rights. Don't give up your freedom. Don't write austerity into the Constitution. Remember, Fine Gael, Labour and Fianna Fáil, the three yes men of Europe, have not offered any positive arguments in favour of this treaty. The Taoiseach won't even debate the issue. That's not leadership. That's not showing citizens the respect that they deserve. Instead, Mr. Kenny, Mr. Gilmore and Mr. Martin are trying to scare people into voting yes. Now, whether it was British rule or a domineering church hierarchy, Irish citizens have had enough of being ruled by fear. We are done with that. The Irish government is also out of step with the rest of Europe. Other European states are delaying ratification because they know that the mood is changing, but not our government. They settle for much less than anyone else, despite Sinn Féin's clear warning about the foolishness of accepting this bad treaty. When the Taoiseach endorsed it in the Dáil, he never mentioned growth or jobs, not once, or a write-down of the bank debt. The truth is that Mr. Kenny and Mr. Gilmore are out of their depth. This government simply cannot be trusted on this treaty. It claims we will be locked out of funds if citizens vote no. That's not true. The legal mandate of the ESM is very clear. Funding will be provided, and I quote, where it is indispensable to safeguard the financial stability of the euro area as a whole and of its member states. So don't be fooled. Remember what Fine Gael and Labour said during the election. Remember all Fianna Fáil's promises. Don't be fooled. Be wise. Join with the millions across Europe who are demanding an end to austerity. It is a good... It is a good and a patriotic and a positive action to say no to a treaty that is bad for you, bad for your family and community, bad for society, and entirely without any social or economic merit. Next Thursday, vote no. It is 5 years since a historic deal between Sinn Fein and the DUP. The business of delivering for citizens is continuing, but there are still outstanding issues, including the Irish language, a Bill of Rights and other equality issues. And the British Secretary of State has also made a number of unhelpful and totally unwarranted interventions, including his decision to revoke the licences of Marion Price and Martin Corey. The British Secretary of State should do all of us a favour. He should go home, back to England where he belongs. Marion Price, Martin Corey and Gerry should be released immediately. The political institutions in the North need to move to the next natural stage, the transfer of fiscal power to the Assembly and the Executive. And the continuing exercise of fiscal power by the British Treasury, there's only one outcome. It will lead to more cuts and will lead to more right-wing welfare policies being imposed on the people in the North. But despite these difficulties, a huge effort by the executive has resulted in jobs being retained and new jobs being created. Unemployment in the north has fallen, and at 6% is less than half the level in this state. Despite the lack of fiscal autonomy, the Sinn Fein ministerial team and the Assembly team have stood against cuts and used public funds to invest in jobs and growth. Deputy First Minister Martin McGuinness has ensured funding for the A5, and in case Fine Gael and Labour don't know what that is, it's a new road linking Monaghan Tyrone with Derry and Donegal. Martin ensured the expansion of Altnagelvin and Omagh hospitals and the freeze on student fees. And there are also many good and positive cross-border developments. For example, the new cancer unit at Altnagelvin and Derry will serve patients from Donegal. And I want to commend DUP Health Minister Poots for ensuring that the new hospital in Enniskillen will be open to patients from Donegal, Kevin and Monaghan. These are examples of what we can do. Sinn Féin ministers have created a social investment fund to tackle disadvantage. We've kept the domestic rate. We've established an executive subcommittee on welfare reform to alleviate hardship and introduce new measures to address youth unemployment. And at a time of tight budgets, a winter fuel payment was made to citizens. Sinn Féin refused to introduce water charges. Conor Murphy prevented the privatisation of the water services. That's the work we're doing, or an example of the work that we're doing. Education Minister John O'Dowd is progressing reforms to break down the social, economic and regional barriers to education. And that includes, listen Rory, free school meals, school uniform grants, extended youth services, early years provision and an almost 5% increase in the budget allocated directly to schools. As well as growing the North's agri-food sector to create jobs, Agriculture Minister Michelle O'Neill is also tackling rural poverty and isolation. And I want at this point to pay tribute to our outgoing, poll-topping MEP for the Six Counties, Barbara de Bruin. This Ardèche thanks you, Barbara, for your work in many leadership positions over many years. Tá muid fear buíoch ditsa, agus béimid a gobar le héile a réis le cúnab dia sa téci. I also want to thank Martina Anderson for her work as a junior minister and wish her well as she prepared to take up the challenges, the new challenges, as our MEP in the North. I commend our Leinster House and Assembly teams, our MPs, our councillors and all our activists. Across Ireland, Sinn Féin is building the political fight back against austerity. Sinn Féin is putting forward alternatives. Sinn Féin TDs in Shanaduri and our other activists in Leinster House are leading the political opposition to this government. But I want to single out and commend and thank Cuivan O'Quillan and Micheál McDonagh, who have just completed a 15-year sentence in the Dáil. Agus tá bríd an seo fásta, so tá muid fuir buíoch ditsa go raibh míle amach agat bríd fásta agus tá clán. I also want to pay tribute to Martin McGuinness for standing in the presidential elections. It was a tremendous campaign, a decisive and defining intervention at the beginning, and most importantly, at the end. So, tá ahra mór tagda ar an túsceart go haratha le blianta beaga anuas mar galar an próses sehanna. Agus bé ahru eile, ahru níos mó ag teacht fásta. Under the terms of the Good Friday Agreement, the British government has agreed to end its jurisdiction if a majority of people vote that way. Now, all of us, North and South, nationalists, Unionists and others need to plan for that. In this state, more and more people realise we do not have a real republic. Sinn Fein wants to demonstrate, and Declan and Martin are leading the way in this work, we want to demonstrate to Unionists that a united Ireland is in their interests, that a united Ireland makes sense, that a single island economy makes sense. It does not make sense on an island this size and with a population of 6 million to have two states, two bureaucracies, two sets of government departments and two sets of agencies competing with each other. Harmonising our systems will save money, improve efficiency and create jobs. And a new agreed united Ireland will emerge through a genuine process of national reconciliation, through what Wolfe Tone described as a cordial union. So Sinn Féin is for a new republic, where the interests of citizens come first. A new republic that is inclusive and pluralist. A new republic created democratically and peacefully. Sinn Féin, and we're not on our own and we have no monopoly about any of this, we're about nation building. We want a nation rooted in harmony, equality and justice. We want, as Tricia said, the people to take the country back. The reconquest of Ireland by the Irish people. The people of Ireland are entitled to social justice. Those in the elites have no God-given right to be there. Equality is achievable. And our people, the people of this island, have the genius and the right to demand it, and to demand it in our time, for all citizens, for all our communities. So, comrades, now is the time for courage, for commitment, for patriotism. Now is the time for hope for all our children, for hope for our great country, for hope for Ireland. So get out there, do the work, stand with all of those who are making a stand, and we will create a new republic and a new Ireland. Go to Mila Mágos. Don't forget, vote no. Now you're on your arm, vote no.